Lisa's car rolled slowly down the winding streets of Oak Ridge Estates, the sun casting long shadows across the manicured lawns and the rows of identical houses. She glanced nervously at the oxygen tank sitting beside her daughter Emily's wheelchair. The small machine hummed softly, a lifeline for the fragile 12-year-old who depended on it to breathe. "This place looks nice," Lisa whispered, trying to convince herself more than Emily. The neighborhood had promised safety and calm, a fresh start for them both after years of hospital stays and doctor's appointments. But as they pulled into the driveway of their new home, Lisa felt an unsettling chill she couldn't explain. Boxes piled high on the porch, neighbors milling quietly in the distance, exchanging nods that felt too forced, too polite. Something was off. Lisa set Emily down gently on the porch swing, watching the girl's pale face relax a little in the fresh air. She smiled softly. "We're going to be okay here, Em." The sound of footsteps interrupted her thoughts. A woman approached mid-50s, impeccably dressed in a crisp blouse and a skirt that matched the color of the HOA's official welcome packet Lisa had received earlier that week. The woman's sharp eyes locked on Emily's oxygen machine. "New neighbors," the woman said with a clipped tone, her voice as cold as winter frost. "I'm Karen, president of the HOA board." Lisa smiled politely. "Nice to meet you, Karen. We're just settling in." Karen's gaze lingered on Emily's oxygen line, then back to Lisa. "I hope you're aware of the community rules. No visible medical equipment outside. It's a violation of Section 3B. Lisa blinked. "But Emily needs the oxygen. She can't go without it." Karen's smile was tight, lacking warmth. "That's unfortunate. The rules apply to everyone." Lisa's stomach twisted. Something about Karen's tone sent a ripple of dread through her chest. The woman wasn't just enforcing rules. She was wielding them like a weapon. Later that afternoon, Lisa found herself sitting on the porch steps, trying to organize the chaos of unpacking while Emily rested inside. Her phone buzzed with a message, a picture from a neighbor showing Karen walking past their yard with a clipboard. Inspecting the oxygen line, Lisa's heart pounded. She texted back, "Why is she so obsessed with Emily's oxygen? It's a medical necessity." The reply came quickly, cryptic. "Karen doesn't like anyone who stands out. She controls this neighborhood like a fortress." That night, Lisa lay awake, listening to the hum of Emily's oxygen machine. The quiet neighborhood felt strangely oppressive, the shadows in the room seeming to creep closer. A noise at the window made her sit up, a fleeting silhouette disappearing into the darkness. Had she imagined it? The next morning, Lisa found the garden hose mysteriously kinked, the front gate left ajar. Small but unsettling signs that someone was watching, or worse, a growing sense of isolation settled in. Neighbors who once greeted her with smiles now averted their eyes or hurried past, their whispers carried away by the wind. Lisa's unease grew. Why was Karen so determined to make their lives difficult? And what did she mean by rules apply to everyone when Emily's oxygen was literally a matter of life and death? The perfect neighborhood, Lisa realized, was just a mask. And behind it lurked something far darker. The night had wrapped Oak Ridge Estates in a thick, suffocating silence. Inside the modest house, Lisa slept fitfully in the guest room, her ears straining for the faintest sign that Emily needed help. The oxygen machine's gentle hiss was the rhythm of their fragile world. Suddenly, a harsh metallic snap shattered the stillness. Lisa jolted upright, heart pounding in her chest. She bolted toward Emily's bedroom, adrenaline sharpening every sense. The door was ajar, the dim glow of the oxygen machine blinking erratically. Emily was gasping, clutching her chest, eyes wide with panic, the oxygen line the thin tube supplying. The precious air was cut cleanly near the machine. No, no, no! Lisa cried, grabbing the loose ends and desperately trying to reconnect them. Her hands trembled as Emily's breaths came faster, shallower, a dreadful wheezing sound filling the room. Time was slipping away, every second a knife twisting deeper into Lisa's soul. Mom, I can't. Emily's voice was barely a whisper, barely there. Lisa's mind raced. Who could have done this? An accident? Sabotage? Suddenly, a shadow flickered outside the window. Lisa's gaze locked on a figure, slipping away into the darkness, tall, familiar, and cold. Karen, her breath hitched in horror and fury. Why? She whispered through tears, cradling Emily in her arms as she called 911. The minutes stretched like hours. Neighbors peered cautiously from behind curtains, some clutching their phones, others whispering in hushed tones. The friendly facade of Oak Ridge Estates cracked further, revealing glints of fear and suspicion. Lisa's phone buzzed with a message from a neighbor she barely knew. Simply reading, "Stay safe, they're watching." Who's watching? She murmured, but no answer came. Paramedics arrived in a flurry. Fire. The cold night air punctuated by hurried footsteps and shouted orders. Lisa followed them outside, holding Emily close. As the oxygen line was replaced and the fragile girl stabilized. But the terror didn't end there. Less than 5 minutes later, the low rumble of helicopter blades sliced through the night. The neighbors' murmurs turned to gasps as 2 Black Hawk helicopters appeared over the tree line, their military green bodies casting massive shadows over the street. Lisa's heart pounded in disbelief. Military helicopters. Here? Soldiers deployed swiftly, moving with tense precision, surrounding the neighborhood with an authority that brooked no argument. The peaceful suburb transformed into a fortress overnight. "Stay inside, an officer ordered, voice cold and official. "This is a controlled operation." Lisa's mind reeled. What had started as a simple HOA dispute had exploded into something far bigger. Something dangerous. The paramedics quickly loaded Emily into an ambulance. Lights flashing, sirens piercing the stillness as they sped away. Lisa was left behind, clutching the tattered ends of the oxygen line. Helpless and terrified, she tried to speak to the officers to understand why the military was here. But they offered nothing but tight-lipped silence. At home, Lisa stared at the window where the shadow had disappeared. Karen's cold eyes haunted her. Had she really tried to kill her daughter? And if so, why? The silence of the neighborhood felt heavier than ever. The neighbors no longer just ignored her. They actively avoided her gaze. Retreating behind locked doors, Lisa knew one thing. Whatever had happened to Emily was no accident. And the quiet streets of Oak Ridge Estates hid a deadly secret. Her fight for her daughter's life had only just begun. The night air was thick with tension, the kind that presses down on your chest and leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. Lisa stood in the dim glow of the porch light, her hands trembling as she stared into the darkness where the Black Hawks had just landed. The hulking helicopters looked out of place in this quiet neighborhood, symbols of war and crisis. She wrapped her arms tightly around herself, still reeling from the shock of Emily's sabotage. The oxygen line had been cut, and now the military had invaded her home like a storm. Lisa's phone buzzed again. Text from the local news station flashed on the screen. Breaking military deployment in Oak Ridge Estates. Residents urged to stay indoors. What on earth was happening? The front gate creaked open, and two stern-faced soldiers approached the house. They wore no smiles, only cold efficiency. One spoke quietly but firmly. "Ma'am, this is a restricted zone now. For your safety, we ask you to stay inside." Lisa's voice trembled. "Please, my daughter. She needs help. What is going on? Why are you here?" "All information will be provided when it's safe. Please cooperate." Behind him, more military vehicles rumbled down the street, lights flashing ominously. Neighbors gathered at their windows, their faces masks of confusion, fear, and whispered suspicion. Lisa caught the worried eyes of Mr. Thompson, the elderly man next door. But even he looked away quickly. Inside, the house felt colder, the walls closing in. Lisa tried to call the hospital for an update on Emily, but was met with static. The lines were jammed or deliberately cut. Her heart pounded with growing dread. This wasn't just about an HOA dispute anymore. Lisa paced the living room, clutching the oxygen line she had saved from being severed. Every shadow seemed to move, Every creak in the house amplified in the silence. Outside, the low thrum of helicopter blades faded as the Black Hawks lifted, circling before landing again in the nearby park. It was clear this was more than a medical emergency. It was a full-scale operation. Questions swirled relentlessly in Lisa's mind. Why the military? What were they protecting? And why was Karen so intent on making Emily's life hell? She remembered the cryptic warning from the neighbor's text. They're watching. Watching what? Exactly? Suddenly, a knock at the door startled her. Lisa opened it cautiously to find a man in a plain suit ID badge clipped to his lapel. His eyes sharp and unreadable. "Ms. Carter?" he asked, voice calm but urgent. "I'm Agent Reynolds with the Department of Homeland Security. We need to speak with you about your daughter's condition and the recent events in this neighborhood." Lisa's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "My daughter is in the hospital." He stepped inside, glancing briefly around. "There's more to this than you realize. Your home is situated atop a restricted government facility. The military presence is to secure a breach in protocol related to biomedical research." Lisa's mind reeled. Biomedical research? Oh, what does that have to do with Emily? And why did Karen? Agent Reynolds held up a hand. "We are investigating all leads, including possible sabotage. It's crucial you stay safe and cooperate fully." The weight of the truth hit Lisa like a wave. Emily's illness, the HOA's hostility, Karen's obsession. None of it was random. As Agent Reynolds spoke, Lisa's eyes drifted to the window. Somewhere in the shadows, she knew Karen was watching and waiting. The neighborhood was no longer a sanctuary. It was a battleground, and Lisa was at the heart of it. The sterile fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor buzzed overhead as Lisa paced, her mind racing faster than her footsteps. Emily lay in a bed, hooked up to monitors and machines, her breathing steady but fragile. Lisa gripped her daughter's hand, feeling the faint pulse beneath her fingers. A fragile tether to hope. Agent Reynolds had promised answers, but all she had so far were more questions later that afternoon. Back at the house, Lisa sifted through a pile of papers she had found hidden beneath the floorboard of Emily's old bedroom. They were reports, stamped confidential, filled with technical jargon and references to a Project Helix. The documents spoke of advanced bioengineering experiments and medical trials secret. Research that had been conducted underneath Oak Ridge Estates for years. Her breath caught as she read a line. Genetic markers indicate potential for oxygen-dependent respiratory failure. Lisa's heart hammered. Could Emily's condition have been caused or worsened by these experiments? Her phone vibrated with a message from the journalist she had met earlier. Jake, a sharp-eyed man who'd been digging into the strange happenings. In Oak Ridge Estates, long before the military showed up, Karen's not just HOA. She's the gatekeeper, protecting more than neighborhood rules. Lisa stared out the window at the quiet street, now crawling with military vehicles and guarded by soldiers in fatigues. The black iron gates, once symbolizing security, now seemed like prison bars. That evening, she confronted Karen, who had been watching her from across the street, arms crossed, eyes cold and unyielding. "Why, Karen? Why would you hurt Emily?" Lisa demanded, her voice shaking but fierce. Karen's smile was thin and bitter.
Oh.
"You don't understand what's at stake, Lisa. This neighborhood protects something. Something bigger than your daughter's illness." Lisa's pulse quickened. What could be bigger than a child's life? Karen stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. "The government's been running experiments here for years. Bioengineering, weaponizing medical conditions, using people like your daughter as unknowing subjects. Was trying to stop it from getting out. You were a threat." The revelation hit Lisa like a punch to the gut. Karen hadn't just been an overbearing HOA president. She was a protector of secrets, willing to cross deadly lines, desperate for the truth. Lisa turned to Jake. Together they uncovered security footage showing Karen lurking near Emily's oxygen line the night it was cut. The footage also revealed shadowy figures entering and leaving the neighborhood after hours. Government agents, scientists, and contractors tied to the research project. Jake's voice was grim as he summarized. "This isn't just about HOA rules or petty vendettas. Oak Ridge Estates is a front, a cage for dangerous secrets." Lisa's world shattered and rebuilt itself in an instant. Her daughter's illness was no accident. Her neighbors were not just passive onlookers, but possibly complicit in a sprawling conspiracy. And Karen was the ruthless warden. The next day, the military tightened security, barring all residents from leaving or entering. Lisa felt trapped, a prisoner in the only home she'd hoped would be a sanctuary, but inside her burned a fierce resolve.
Go.
If the government and Karen thought they could silence her and Emily, they were wrong. She would expose the truth, no matter the cost. Lisa sat in the dim light of her kitchen, the weight of the government's secrets pressing down on her like a suffocating fog. The neighborhood, once a picture-perfect community, was now a labyrinth of whispered threats and hidden agendas. Every knock on the door set her heart racing. Every glance from a neighbor felt like a test. She wasn't alone anymore. Jake, the investigative journalist, had become an unlikely ally, digging through government records and piecing together the horrifying truth. He slid a folder across the table, filled with names, dates, and secret meetings, proof that the experiments had gone far beyond Oak Ridge Estates, touching powerful corporations and government agencies. But trust was a fragile thing. The former HOA board member, whom Lisa had quietly contacted, emerged from the shadows. Martha had been forced out years earlier after challenging Karen's authoritarian grip. Now, she spoke in hushed tones about Karen's ruthless tactics. Her alliances with shadowy figures who thrived on fear. We all played a part, Martha admitted bitterly. But Karen, she's the one who cut the line. She thought Emily's condition would expose us all. Lisa's stomach churned. State, this wasn't just an HOA power struggle. It was a cover-up, and Emily was the target. One evening, as Lisa reviewed surveillance footage Jake had secretly obtained, her phone buzzed with an anonymous message. Watch your back. Not everyone is who they seem. Paranoia clawed at her. Was the journalist truly on her side? Or was he a pawn in the larger game? Next day, Lisa caught Jake in a heated phone call with a shadowy figure, his voice low and urgent. Something didn't sit right. Kay rushed it rough as a source check. But Lisa's instincts screamed betrayal. Then came the break-in. Her front door was left ajar one morning. Papers scattered, personal items rifled through. Nothing stolen, but the message was clear. Someone was watching and sending warnings. Lisa's sense of isolation deepened. The military presence was suffocating, and Karen's watchful eyes lurked in every corner. Even Martha seemed hesitant now, glancing over her shoulder with fear. But surrender was not an option. Lisa reached out to an old friend from the hospital, Dr. Patel, who had always questioned the government's involvement in medical research. He revealed shocking details. Emily's illness matched symptoms reported in classified research on genetically altered conditions designed for covert warfare. Your daughter isn't just sick, Dr. Patel warned. She's part of an experiment that could change everything we know about human biology. The stakes had become terrifyingly clear. Lisa was battling not just a corrupt HOA president, but a vast conspiracy that threatened countless lives. And, in this war of shadows, trust was the most dangerous weapon of all. The night was thick with an oppressive silence, the kind that cloaked Oak Ridge Estates like a shroud. Lisa sat by the window, her eyes darting across the moonlit street, watching for any sign of movement. Emily's fragile breathing echoed in the back of her mind, a reminder of the stakes rising with every passing moment. Her phone buzzed with a coded message from Jake. They're coming. Get ready. The words sent a chill down Lisa's spine. They were no longer just faceless shadows in the night. They were real, imminent, and dangerous. Suddenly, the faint crunch of gravel outside shattered the stillness. Lisa's heart hammered as she peered into the darkness. Figures emerged, clad in tactical gear, moving with precise, practiced efficiency. The military was here, not just for containment, but for capture. Emily needs to get out, Lisa whispered, panic tightening her voice. Jake burst through the door, breathless but resolute. "We don't have time. The military is raiding the neighborhood." Kieran tipped them off. "They want Emily." Lisa's mind raced. If Kieran was orchestrating this, her daughter's life was on a razor's edge. They packed hastily oxygen tanks, medical supplies, important documents. The sound of helicopters thrummed closer, mingling with the sharp commands of soldiers clearing houses. The blackout blinds flickered as the power was cut, plunging their home into darkness. Lisa grabbed Emily's wheelchair, her hands trembling. But steady. The two moved like ghosts through the shadows, careful to avoid patrols. Outside, Oak Ridge Estates had transformed into a fortress. Soldiers blocked the roads, and searchlights swept the streets like hungry predators through the woods. Jake urged, pointing to a narrow trail that led beyond the neighborhood boundary. "It's the only way." Lisa hesitated. The woods were dense, unknown, and dangerous, especially for Emily's condition. But there was no other choice, pushing Emily through the tangled underbrush. Lisa fought to keep calm despite the deafening pounding of her heart. The oxygen tank rattled in its holder, every bump a potential threat. Behind them, the sharp crack of gunfire echoed. "They're closing in." Lisa's breath caught as a squad of soldiers appeared at the trailhead, their weapons raised. "Run!" Jake shouted. They sprinted through the darkness, branches scraping at their faces. Emily's shallow breaths, the only sound besides their pounding feet. Just when hope seemed lost, they reached a clearing and a black van, waiting with the engine idling. "Go! Go!" the driver urged. Lisa lifted Emily into the van as Jake jumped in beside them. The vehicle sped off, tearing through the woods and leaving the chaos of Oak Ridge Estates behind as the van plunged into the night. Lisa looked back once. The neighborhood swallowed by military helicopters and flashing lights. Her heart ached. This was no longer just a battle for her daughter's survival. It was a fight against a conspiracy that reached deep into the heart of power, and the enemy was closer than she ever imagined. The van sped through winding back roads, the headlights cutting through the pre-dawn fog like twin blades. Lisa sat beside Emily, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall with each fragile breath, the oxygen tank humming steadily. Jake drove, with a focused intensity, glancing frequently at the rear-view mirror, eyes sharp for any sign of pursuit. "We're not safe yet," Jake muttered. "Karen's network runs deep. She has allies everywhere, people who want to keep those experiments buried." Lisa's mind reeled. Karen wasn't just a neighbor gone rogue. She was part of a hidden apparatus protecting the darkest secrets of Project Helix. After what felt like hours, the van pulled into a secluded compound surrounded by thick concrete walls topped with razor wire. Armed guards awaited them, their expressions hard but familiar. Jake led Lisa inside, through a maze of corridors lined with surveillance cameras. "This is safe," Jake said. "For now." Inside, Lisa met Dr. Patel again, the hospital doctor who had confided in her about the government's bioengineering experiments. The sterile lab smelled of antiseptic and cold metal, but here, Lisa felt a flicker of hope. Dr. Patel approached, his eyes grave but determined. "We've been working to expose the truth," he said. "Karen was part of the original team but turned rogue when she realized the project's true purpose, weaponizing genetic diseases to control populations." Lisa's heart pounded. Emily's condition wasn't just a medical mystery. It was a weaponized flaw, designed to be both a curse and a control mechanism. But why target Emily? Lisa asked, her voice breaking. Dr. Patel's gaze softened. "Your daughter's DNA contains a unique marker, a key to reversing the effects. That's why Karen tried to silence her. She believed the project's secrecy was more important than any individual life." Suddenly, the lab's monitors flickered, displaying live feeds of Oak Ridge estates. Soldiers and helicopters swarmed the neighborhood, but in the chaos, Karen appeared on screen, cold, calculating, speaking into a radio. "She's preparing for one last move," Jake warned. "And it's going to be deadly." Lisa clenched, her fists, resolve hardening. "We have to stop her. For Emily, for everyone trapped in this nightmare." Dr. Patel nodded. "There's a serum experimental, but it could stabilize Emily. The catch is we need her blood sample from Oak Ridge." Glanced at Lisa. "We have to go back." Fear and determination warred inside Lisa. Returning meant risking capture, or worse, but Emily's life depended on it. As dawn broke, they prepared to move. Lisa's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old Oak Ridge well. Alone. I have answers." A trap, or a desperate ally. Lisa's heart pounded as she faced a choice: trust the message and risk everything, or keep running from shadows that only seemed to grow darker. Her next move would decide the fate of her daughter and the hidden war beneath Oak Ridge estates. The sun had barely risen when Lisa approached the old Oak Ridge well, her footsteps echoing in the cold morning air. Emily rested in a nearby safe room, guarded by Dr. Patel and Jake, their faces tense with worry. But Lisa had to know the truth, and this mysterious message was her only lead. The well stood abandoned, vines creeping over its cracked stones. A relic of the past hiding secrets no one dared to confront. A shadow moved. Lisa's breath caught as a figure stepped forward. Tall, cloaked in a long coat, face obscured beneath a hood. "You came," the voice said, low and wary. Lisa's heart pounded. "Who are you? Why should I trust you?" The figure pulled back the hood, revealing not an enemy, but someone unexpected. Karen, her eyes were tired, haunted, but sincere. I'm sorry, Lisa, Karen said, voice trembling. I did terrible things. I thought I was protecting this place, protecting everyone, but I was wrong. The project destroyed my family, just like it's destroying yours. Lisa's mind reeled. Why cut Emily's oxygen line? Why betray us? Karen swallowed hard. I was desperate. The military was going to use Emily as a test subject, something worse than death. I thought if I stopped her, I could buy time to find another way. Lisa's anger flared. You nearly killed my daughter. Karen nodded, tears in her eyes. I know, and I'll carry that forever. Before Lisa could respond, a roar shattered the fragile moment. Helicopters descended, encircling the well with armed soldiers pouring out. Get down! Ah! Jake shouted, pulling Lisa behind a rusted barrel. Gunfire erupted, echoes bouncing off the stone walls. Karen moved swiftly, drawing a small device from her coat. This ends now, he said, pressing a button. A pulse surged through the air, a high-frequency signal that scrambled communications. Cutting off the soldiers' radios and drones, chaos erupted as the military scrambled to regroup. Karen turned to Lisa. This serum, it's the key to stopping Project Helix, but it needs your help. Lisa took the vial. Karen handed her a glowing amber liquid pulsating with promise. Together, they dashed back to the safe room where Emily lay vulnerable. Dr. Patel prepared the injection, his hands steady despite the turmoil outside. The moment the serum entered Emily's bloodstream, her monitors began to stabilize. The shallow gasps grew stronger. Her color improved. Tears streamed down Lisa's face as hope blossomed anew. Outside, the military regrouped, but the unexpected resistance and Karen's sabotage forced a retreat. The conspiracy had cracks, and now the truth was breaking through. Days later, investigations exploded across the media, exposing the government's experiments and Karen's part in trying to contain the damage. Lisa watched Emily play in the backyard, her laughter a precious melody after so much silence. Karen visited quietly. No longer an enemy, but a remorseful guardian seeking redemption. The neighborhood was forever changed. Shadows lifted, but scars remaining. And Lisa knew one thing for certain. Even in the darkest places, hope could survive, and sometimes it took the most unlikely allies to bring it to light.